Welcome to the Art Project. Please subscribe if you're new here. We're going to do a Yayoi Kusama line project. If you don't already know, Yayoi Kusama is a Japanese artist who has been pretty popular. She's famous for her infinity mirrors, infinity rooms, and polka dots. But she's also done a lot of paintings, and we're going to do one here. So the first thing that I did was put a 1-inch border around my 18 by 24 paper, 18 by 24 inch paper. I'm going to use 3 different size Sharpies for this: a ultra fine Sharpie, a fine Sharpie, and a chisel tip Sharpie. I can get 3 different sizes easily with these pens. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a demonstration on what I'm talking about. Variety is one of the elements of art. It is the element of art that makes things more interesting because you have a variety. You have different elements to keep your attention. And so one of the varieties that we're going to do here is line quality. We're going to try out different kinds of lines. And we're going to do those with the same marker. You saw how I can get a fat mark and a thin mark and a really thin mark with just the chisel tip. Another thing that I want you to do is I want you to study Kusama's motifs. If you look at her paintings, over and over and over again, you'll see eyes, you'll see dots, you'll see lines, you'll see triangles, and you'll even see some different flowers. All of her motifs are pretty simple. Anybody could draw them. She combines them in a way that is interesting, not only because of the variety of line quality, but also because of repetition. A lot of repetition in her work. So I'm going to demonstrate how she makes a mark. Now, I haven't studied in detail the way that she works, but I've looked at her lines, and I'm rather impressed with the texture that each line has. She doesn't just do a quick line that's nice and smooth. She sort of stutters in the way that she drags the pen, stopping in one place and then restarting in that same place, or even maybe leaving a space. She'll take the lines and get closer and then further away, and then closer again. And so just watch it, how these lines, how just with a simple line you can create depth, almost like the surface of the paper is bending and creasing, like it has a valley, and then it's raising up. Just look close at how the different lines can be made. And so I started off with sort of a straight line, and my lines became more and more crooked, and now I'm trying to sort of even them out again, just to kind of demonstrate, by leaving more space or less space, how you can make your lines change, or your overall image kind of change. So if you want to, on a piece of scrap paper, kind of practice this part. And so I'm going to kind of spread the lines out a little bit more at the bottom and stay close together at the top to demonstrate what happens. And then pretty quickly I'm going to kind of expand out in the middle and remain close at the top. I'm just trying out different things with this marker just to see what kind of things I can do with just basic line. Now, one of the things that I did not see Kusama do was leaving that little space. But as I was creating my artwork, which we'll see in a minute, I kept thinking about different ways that it could be done, different ways to get different images. One of the things you could do is compare Kusama's artwork with another artist, Aaron Horkey. That's kind of a strange last name, but Aaron Horkey, Horkey. Look at his work and look at it next to Kusama's work. Notice how perfect Aaron Horkey's lines are and how imperfect Kusama's lines are, and how they just kind of evoke a different emotion, different qualities. Look at how this fine point is next to the ultra fine point, and then I'll switch here to a chisel tip point. I'm sorry to spend so much time on just this one part, just line quality, but I think it's really important to note how you can get different effects with line and how important that is to this particular project. So once you have practiced and played with the lines a little bit, then I recommend dividing the paper up into 3 or more large spaces. So here I've got it divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 large spaces. And I put a couple of random lines, just playing around, trying to come up with different things. And then I start with lines that are thin. I started with thin lines that are intentional but not perfect. I started and stopped a lot so that I would get little dots in the middle of the lines, and some places I would stop, make a little space, and then start again. Tried to never ever cross or touch. There was a couple of times where my lines would touch, but for the most part I just try to keep them side by side. This part probably took longest of any part of this whole drawing, and I think it's also one of the most probably my favoriteest part of the picture. Keep in mind, the more work you spend, a lot of times the more work you spend on a picture, the better you're going to like it. There's a lot more reward at the end of something that you took your time on and worked hard on. As I was doing this, I was also kind of zoning out. Something awesome about just zoning out for a little while, making repetitious marks, and not really having to think about a whole lot. I apologize, my flower was not on the screen as I was drawing it. She had drawn a few flowers in hers. I looked at a couple of them, and then I did my own flower. She also drew a lot of eyes, so I drew a couple of eyes. You can make up your own symbols if you want to. This doesn't have to be strictly Yayoi Kusama, but it is inspired by her. And again, I think the name of the whole game here is repetition. I think if you could boil Yayoi Kusama's artwork down to one principle of design, it is repetition. Notice here the little dots that are on the lines and the spaces that I leave sometimes. And notice how I try and stay consistently apart, but not too far apart. It almost looks like hair or cloth. Finally got all of that filled in. The rest of it goes quite a bit faster. I saw in one of her other paintings these circles. They kind of remind me of this rug that my mom and dad had on the front porch when I was growing up. It was a rug that was made out of like rope that was spiraled and sewn together. She also does these geometric patterns. She's got a few of these paintings where the entire canvas is just covered with these geometric patterns. And I'm really honestly not sure how she starts them off or how she does it. I don't know if she starts on one side and works her way all the way across, or if she goes all the way across with a line and then goes back like I just did. Not real sure, but it's geometric pattern. And then there's also these eyes. It appears as though she just realized that doing waves that connect together at the apexes of each wave creates an eye shape, and so she did these eyes. And then, of course, dots. Lots and lots of polka dots. I think polka dots are like her main thing. So here I decided to do a bunch of different size dots. And I felt like the black dots were real heavy, and so I decided to kind of balance it out on the other side by doing some of the triangles. And notice here how I did the triangles and also did those first set of dots in the middle right on top of everything else that I had drawn. It's kind of one of the great things about doing this in the black markers. It just covers up whatever you've done before, and it doesn't really matter. So that's it. Hope you like it. So that's that one. I also did a second one before I did this picture. So I guess actually this is the second one. I did the first one. This is it. And if you look at it real close, you'll notice that there are more small lines with in between every big line. I'll give you a little zoom in of it here in a second. So that's it. Enjoy your Yayoi Kusama line project. Go make some art.